If you are looking for an abundant year, this is ironically one of the best ways to get started with it. Welcome to Tea Time. I am super excited to see you this week so that we can talk about one of my favorite topics that can be a little scary to dive into, but it's so huge, and it is the way that you get the fuel in your business. It comes all from you, and it is all about your personal fulfillment. So personal fulfillment is all about your big why at its core. It means a little bit more than that, but to get us started, let's start with your big why. There's a lot of talk about finding your big why and your big North Star and your guiding principles and whatever you like to describe that as in your business. Your big why has a lot to do with what really feeds that fire to keep it burning inside you. Where does your gas tank get filled from when you are building your business? Because you're going to use some fuel. That's your energy, and you're definitely going to need to refill at the gas station or recharge your batteries, however you'd like to think about it. Everything you do in business is in service of this big why. Like for me personally, my spiritual expression is a huge, huge part of this. I feel like it is the thing that picks me up on the days when I'm feeling down. It is that piece of personal fulfillment that I can engage with and help me pick myself up and dust myself off and keep going. One of the number one questions I get asked from people all the time, one of the big attractor magnet things around me is, hey Mary, how did you mesh your metaphysical side with your business side? You know, how did you come to do this? It's not just in the name Sensible Woo, but how did you actually do this and embody that fully? And my answer is always, it's in the clarity of my personal fulfillment. I don't pretend to be a metaphysical practitioner. I am one. I've been reading tarot and the Akashic records for over 20 years, ever since I was in graduate school and then in my corporate career. First it was over the phone, then a little bit on Skype, and thankfully Zoom came along and made it a lot easier so that people could get recordings. But I've been doing this a really long time. It has been a part of me. I've belonged to drum circles and covens. I have a whole library of books on everything from candle magic to, manifesting and crystals, and it's just a part of my life. That personal fulfillment is something that helps me feel deeply, deeply connected to the soul of my business. So a lot of people have told me that metaphysics and technology, like systems, they just really don't go together. And what happened was I was blogging under a different brand name called School of Moxie, which is now the name of my LLC, and Sensible Woo is now the DBA under that LLC. And at the time I was writing about sewing and living a handmade life in Los Angeles, and people started asking me business questions. I was also reading tarot this entire time. And I started to see that there was this really big disconnect amongst my spiritual peers, that they weren't getting the technological support that they needed inside their businesses. At the time in my corporate career during the day, I was working as a digital archivist inside of the entertainment industry. And so I was around software development and tech and systems and process all day, every day. Usability was my middle name. And I had a lot of questions coming at me asking me, Mary, how do I solve this problem? Mary, if I want this launch to go well, what software should I use? And I started to realize that there was a need for it. But every single person who came to me had the similar personal fulfillment, little special nugget. And we all engaged in metaphysical groups and activities and practice, and they just didn't feel like they could get their questions answered and feel comfortable from somebody else. And so what happens is when your personal fulfillment is really strong, you become an attractor to the own things that make you who you are. I have seen this happen time and time again with the people who've come through the Sensible Woo incubator. They're bringing these amazing programs out into the world, doing things that people tell them nobody's really doing that right now, or nobody's done it like that. And yet, because their personal fulfillment gene is so strongly rooted and clear, and they are deeply connected with it on a daily basis, it actually works out extremely well and brings them bigger wins faster. I find that when you tap into your personal fulfillment side of yourself, you will notice very, very quickly how much tapping into that gives you a special extra magical ingredient. Firstly, it's more personally fulfilling to be all of yourself than only part of yourself, or keep part of yourself over in this little box of life and then another part of yourself over in this little box of life. We live in a both and world, and that both and world has only gotten increasingly more strong with the energetic age that we are evolving through currently. And so I think that if you found this video, chances are you're feeling a little bit of this too. This is a great year to engage in it and to really let yourself be all of you in one container, because it's going to give you more motivation, more energy, more clarity to move forward in the work that you're doing. That personal fulfillment element is the way in which you recharge your battery, or you fill your gas tank, or you add little widgets to your cart to make it run faster. However your vehicle works, I want you to think about, how do you get yourself back up to the equivalent of a full gas tank or a full battery charge? Let yourself engage with how to get more of it. It can be scary to think of it if you've been trying to sequester different parts of yourself, but this is such a common thing that I hear about. I just had to make a video about it this week because I wanted to make sure that A, you're not alone, and B, that this is actually a very solvable problem. You're gonna have some bumpy spots in the road in your business journey. It's just gonna happen. Your launch might fail. That thing that you bought might turn out to be a total dud. That program you invested in turned out not to be the right program. It happens. And what happens when those situations happen is that you end up feeling like you're expending a bunch of energy, you use up more gas or more battery charge, and eventually you're going to need to recharge. You're going to need to refill that fuel tank. How do you do it? You do it through your personal fulfillment. You do it by connecting with it and engaging with it fully and wholly and completely, and being all of you instead of only a part of you, which is going to deplete your energy sources faster. Knowing how to tap into this for yourself is truly the difference between sort of throwing in the towel because you're just exhausted and you're tired, or finding that extra fortitude to keep going. When we see those success stories from people and we're like, how did you pick up after all that happened for you? It's usually because they were tapping into their personal fulfillment. The key here with personal fulfillment is that it always comes from you. You might engage in it with other people, but it comes from you. It's not something that somebody else can give you. You can't buy it. You can't sort of siphon it off from somebody else's personal fulfillment. You actually have to have it for yourself. I'm a really big believer around here at Sensible Woo at disconnecting and dissolving those cords of codependency that seem to have formed really strongly in the coaching industry for business over the last decade. It's really important that you know that there are spaces where you can be empowered to find that strength for yourself, and that it might not be the easiest thing in the immediate moment, but in the long term, you're going to be one of those people who has the longevity to keep going with your dream. And people are going to ask you, where did you get that fortitude from? How did you pick yourself up and dust yourself off? They're going to ask you those questions because you did something that a lot of other people are looking for shortcuts around. And this is one of those things that there is no shortcut. Either you have personal fulfillment or you don't. And sometimes our personal fulfillment sources change. So if we've been through a big season of change, which a lot of us have in the last few years, you might have noticed that there are some differences, in which case this year is a great year to tap into that and start being more mindful and figure out, what do you need to adjust? What needs to get stronger? What do you need to give yourself more time and spaciousness to do? So speaking of spaciousness, we talk about systems around here at Sensible Woo. And the reason why systems come into play here and why they're so important when it comes to this personal fulfillment piece, which is actually a really big part of your spiritual journey when you think about it. But the reason why those systems are so important for this is because they allow you to start creating spaciousness and calm and easefulness so that you can actually take things off your plate or let a process be automated and trust your technology to do the job that it was built to do. And that allows you to engage with your personal fulfillment. It allows you to recharge your batteries and allows you to have more fortitude moving forward, because we've all been through a pretty tough past few years. Even if you had banner years and you were making bank and it felt really good, chances are you're also tired. And so there is a collective energy that we're all a part of here. And one of the things you can do to help your fellow community is to embody this fully. Give them evidence that they can see and they can hear, and that they can see that it is possible to do the same, because a rising tide lifts all ships. And when we all help each other with evidence that that thing is possible, and we're able to grow in that new and exciting way, that we can refuel our tanks a lot quicker and with more ease, it's just gonna make the entire economy function better. We will have a better cycle. There's more abundance to share, on and on and on. If you are looking for an abundant year, this is ironically one of the best ways to get started with it. And you'll discover that the return to you has really quite a tenfold investment. So taking care of you, making sure that you recharge your batteries, knowing how you do it, and not relying on someone else to give you the battery charge is going to be a huge, huge key for your year. You can ground yourself by engaging with the very practical systems that make your business run online every day. And by doing that, it gives you a stable point that you can then ground down onto, that you can stay focused on. Because when you're working through these personal, emotional development pieces, these spiritual development pieces, it can feel like you're kind of floating around out in the air. And we don't want that feeling. We want to be able to have something we can anchor onto so that we don't just sort of drift around and feel like we're being blown around in the wind. That gives us the feeling that things are happening to us rather than us being an active part of what is happening in the world around us. You see those words float by every week in the musical intro for these videos, and now you know where it comes from. So I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button, if you would share this with your friends, hit the little bell so you get the notifications when new videos come out. And I would love it if you would leave a comment and tell me, what is your number one way to recharge your batteries or fill your gas tank? How do you engage with your personal fulfillment? And how has it helped you overcome difficulties in the past? If you can leave that comment and somebody else can see the evidence of that, you will have done one of the most beautiful things for the world and given a great gift to everyone else around you.